All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the regular meeting of the St. Joseph County Council for Tuesday, August 12th, 2025. This meeting is now called to order. Please stand for the invocation given by Councilman Figg and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's pray. Our God and our Heavenly Father, we come before you tonight asking your wisdom upon us as we deal with our districts, all 9 of our districts, and the county as a whole. I pray just give us wisdom this evening. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next are petitions, communications, and miscellaneous matters. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the July 8th, 2025 public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. The minutes of the July 8th, 2025 public hearing have been approved. Are there any other petitions, communications, or miscellaneous matters?
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Tanzarite.
are you asking for reappointments to certain boards?
Let's go ahead and do that. If there's nothing else, may I have a nominations for reappointment to the St. Joseph County Agricultural Advisory Board?
We have 3 persons that need to be reappointed if they're still willing to serve, which we believe they are. Andy Ladig, Rod Schroeder, and Sheila Sirodowski would be the reappointments I would recommend for the St. Joe County Agricultural Advisory Board.
All right. Thank you, Councilman Catanzarite. Are there any other nominations at this time? All right. Hearing none, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a nomination for Andy Ladig, Rod Schroeder, and Sheila Sirodowski. And we have a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion passes 9-0. Andy Ladig, Rod Schroeder, and Sheila Sirodowski are appointed to the St. Joseph County Agricultural Advisory Board. Next is report from the county auditor.
I do have a report this evening. The Indiana Department of Local Government asked that auditors provide the council with 2 reports during their first public meeting in August, which would be tonight. The first report is the 2026 Estimated Property Tax Credit Apportionment Worksheet. I emailed these out, but you may not have been able to catch those. And that's on page 2 of your handout. That shows the maximum levy. Well, that's on page 3, actually, of your handout. It shows the circuit breaker credits through the years. So you can see for some years, we actually had a reduction in circuit breaker credits, but those are expected to increase. The other report tonight is the 2026 estimated maximum levy, and that's on page 2. That gives us an idea of the total property taxes that can be collected. It's limited. The DLGF limit typically limits that to the amount of the growth quotient, which is kind of an inflation factor, which is 4%. Some of this may change with the new law, but currently that's how it works. That you're limited to a growth quotient increase in property taxes. It's not like it can go up higher than that. So any questions on this report?
Any questions from council?
You don't need to take any.
Mr. Catanzarite.
Is it essentially just a 4% increase from last year or 2025?
Yeah,
Mr. Auditor?
the growth quotient is 4% for 2026. Sometimes it's 3%, sometimes 5%, but 4% is pretty typical.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Could you explain, for the sake of the council as well as our audience, what a circuit breaker is?
Steve could probably do better, but let me give it a shot.
Okay.
In 2009, the state legislature came up with the property tax caps, which are the 1% for residential, 2% for rental property and agricultural property, and 3% for commercial property. So the circuit breaker cap is kind of a measure of the, kind of the property tax that was lost under the new, was lower under the new provisions that were enacted in 2009 versus what it used to be. It's not like if you have a $14 million circuit breaker credit that you actually have $14 million less than you had in 2009. It's not that. It's just a kind of a measure of how divergent they've become.
I see.
So it's kind of controlled the rate of property tax increase, which is obviously a benefit to taxpayers.
Right. Okay.
Steve, does that catch it up pretty quick?
Okay. And that 1%, 2%, and 3% is of assessed value, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. All right.
John, so that was a while ago. Why still report on that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, the state chooses to issue a report. Some cities and stuff have really large circuit breaker amounts, but they're doing okay. You know, they're collecting property tax. When that was first enacted, everybody was concerned about that, but I tended to focus on what we actually would receive rather than the opportunity cost of what we would not receive.
So going forward, should we start looking at reporting on the SB1 circuit breaker loss?
I think that'll probably be included in this calculation that the state does.
Okay. All right, that's all I got.
I
Thanks.
think that'll add to it, probably.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Rutten. Any other questions? All right.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Auditor. Do we have a report from county commissioners? No report at this time. All right. We have no special committees, so we'll move on to our first readings. Clerk, would you please read bill number 60-25?
Bill 60-25, the Community First Investment Ordinance of St. Joseph County. Petitioners Dan Schetzel, Brian Tanner, Marka Tanzarite, Diana Hess, and Jennifer Shabazz.
Bill number 60-25 is assigned to the Budget and Administration Committee. Clerk, would you please read bill number 63-25?
An ordinance of the St. Joseph County Council amending Title 15, Chapter 154 subdivisions, Sections 153.41F of the St. Joseph County Code to require developers of subdivisions contacting 10 or more lots to provide an early warning system, siren system, if the subdivision is located outside an existing siren coverage area. Petitioner, St. Joseph County Area Plan Commission.
Bill number 63-25 is assigned to the Land Use Planning Committee. Clerk, would you please read bill number 64-25?
An ordinance approving the petition for special use filed by Larry M. Ecker for property being located at 50831 Ironwood Road, Clay Township. Petitioner Larry M. Ecker.
Bill number 64-25 is assigned to the Land Use Planning Committee. That concludes first readings for this evening. Next are resolutions. Clerk, would you please read bill number 65-25?
A resolution to honor beloved baseball coach Joel Reinbold.
Petitioner?
A resolution to honor beloved baseball coach Joel Reinbold. Whereas baseball coach Joel Reinbold is one of Clay High School's greats, a man who spent much of his life out on the baseball field, contributing to Clay's stellar reputation as a serious sports school. Whereas Coach Joel Reinbold carried on his father's footsteps, coaching for 11 seasons at the field named after his dad, and sharing a family legacy dedicated to the art of baseball and the joy of the game. Whereas he was dedicated to his team, the Colonials, and the kids he taught to play at Clay, spending his days at the field from early morning to late at night, and quoted in the paper as saying, "Colonial for life, dude," in an article featuring Clay's final 2024 season before it closed forever. Whereas he was a man whose passion for baseball showcased even in the details, especially the field, which he called the yard, making sure it was always pristine and fit to represent the sport he loved so dearly. Whereas his love for baseball extended beyond Clay, with the nonprofit he started called Rounding Third, focused on helping disadvantaged kids in South Bend and in Jamaica, created with the goal of getting kids playing, providing them with the equipment they needed, and building their self-esteem. Whereas individuals like Joe Reinbold showed us that through sports, we can have a meaningful impact on a community, shape young lives, build an appreciation for teamwork, and create shared experiences that bring people together. Now therefore be it resolved that the St. Joseph County Council commends Mr. Joel Reinbold for his many accomplishments and for contributions to Clay High School, Clay Township, St. Joseph County, and the great state of Indiana. Jamie, would you like to come up? Do we want to say anything else before we bring the commissioners up?
Any council members have anything to add? Okay, go ahead.
Okay, commissioners, would you like to come up?
Good evening, everyone. This is especially near and dear to my heart because not only did I serve on the St. Joe County Council with Joel's dad, Jim, for years, and we had a great time serving together. But not only that, actually, Jim Reinbold was the head coach of the Clay High School baseball team when I was a member of the LaSalle High School baseball team. And so I actually played against Jim when he was the coach. And I guess the Prevagen is not working today because I know I attempted to steal home for the winning run, but I just can't remember if I was safe or not. But anyway, this has special meaning for me because of Joel's dad, Jim. So I'm just happy to be a part of this. Thank you very much.
I just want to add to what Commissioner Morton said. My relationship spanned both Jim and Joel. Our boys played baseball at Clay High School, finished just at the time Jim was retiring, and we continued to attend games that Joel coached. Plus, we saw him at the Cove all the time when he was the head groundskeeper. So he did so much. I think the resolution that the council offered did a great job in summarizing the impact that Joel had on our town, our community, and really this whole region, as was said. So it's with great pleasure that we want to award the key to this county to Joel's family in his memory. So Jamie, if you would come back up.
Thank you, commissioners. All right, we will open the public hearing on Bill number 65-25. Is there anyone in the room who would like to speak in favor of this bill? All right, is there anyone online who would like to speak in favor of this bill? Is there anyone in the room who would like to speak in opposition to this bill? Is there anyone online who would like to speak in opposition to this bill? Seeing none, is there any further comment from council? All right, hearing none, may I have a motion?
Motion to send favorably or pass?
Second.
All right. Motion to pass made by Councilwoman Drake, seconded by Councilman Catanzarite. Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Mr. Rutten,
Yes.
Ms. Hess,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Mr. Catanzarite,
Yes.
Mr. Tanner,
Yes.
Mr. Fig,
Yes.
Mrs. Shabazz,
Yes.
Mrs. Drake,
Yes.
President Schetzel.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Thank you. Let the record show that Bill number 65-25 was passed by a vote of 9-0. Next are salary amendments. Clerk, will you please read Bill number 62-25?
An ordinance amending ordinance 76-24, the same being an ordinance establishing salaries and fixing the numbers of employees of St. Joseph County for the year 2025. Petitioner Prosecutor.
Committee report, please. Councilwoman Hess.
President Schetzel, the bill comes to you with favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Petitioner.
Yes, Bob Reisenhoover with the Prosecutor's Office. Office is on the 10th floor of this building. We're here tonight to ask for a salary appropriation, salary amendment and appropriation from our high-tech crime unit IPAC grant. It's in Fund 4941. This is to pay the Notre Dame part-time students that works in the cybercrime lab unit at the university. We pay the salaries, Notre Dame reimburses us for that, and we've already received the amount of the appropriation of $15,673. They've already paid it. We've already put it into the bank, so we're just asking your permission now to spend the money.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any questions from council for the petitioner? All right. Hearing none, we'll open the public hearing on Bill number 62-25. Is there anyone in the room who would like to speak in favor of this bill? Is there anyone online who would like to speak in favor of this bill? Is there anyone in the room who would like to speak in opposition to this bill? Is there anyone online who would like to speak in opposition to this bill? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing on Bill number 62-25. Any further comments from council? Seeing none, may I have a motion?
Move for
Motion to
approval.
approve.
Second.
Motion to approve made by Councilman Fig, seconded by Councilwoman Hess. Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Ms. Hess?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Catanzarite?
Yes.
Mr. Tanner?
Yes.
Mr. Fig?
Yes.
Mrs. Shabazz?
Yes.
Mrs. Drake?
Yes.
Mr. Rutten?
Yes.
And President Schetzel.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let the record show that Bill number 62-25 was passed by a vote of 9-0. Next is public hearing, public comments on fiscal matters. Clerk, will you please read Bill number 61-25?
An ordinance appropriating and transferring monies for the purpose herein specified for the several departments herein listed of St. Joseph County government.
Because all fiscal matters were heard and discussed by the council at its July 2025 committee hearing, or committee meeting, we will move directly to public comment on Bill number 61-25. Is there anyone in the room who would like to speak in favor of this bill? Please state your name and address for the record, and after you've finished speaking, sign in.
Yes, I'm Kristen Cooper, the controller for the St. Joseph County Probate Court located at 1000 South Michigan Street, South Bend. I am here to request the appropriation of the $9,500 that was received in January from the Indiana Supreme Court to be used for our Family Recovery Court program. The specifics are outlined in the paperwork, those being $3,500 appropriated to the promotion account, $5,000 to be appropriated to the emergency housing account, and $1,000 to be appropriated to conferences and training. Thank you, and if you have any questions, I would be more than happy to answer them.
All right. Is there, you may go ahead and have a seat. Is there anyone else in the room who would like to speak in favor of this bill? Is there anyone online who would like to speak in favor of this bill? Is there anyone in the room who would like to speak in opposition to this bill? Is there anyone online who would like to speak in opposition to this bill? All right. Seeing none, any further comment by council members? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Move for approval is made by Councilwoman Hess, seconded by Councilman Thomas. Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Catanzarite?
Yes.
Mr. Tanner?
Yes.
Mr. Fig?
Yes.
Mrs. Shabazz?
Yes.
Mrs. Drake?
Yes.
Mr. Rutten?
Yes.
Ms. Hess?
Yes.
President Schetzel?
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Thank you. Let the record show that Bill 61-25 was passed by a vote of 9-0. We now move on to miscellaneous matters. Clerk, will you please read Bill number 59-25?
An ordinance of the St. Joseph County Council appropriating the funds necessary to pay the salary and expenses of an attendance officer under IC 20-33-2-31. Petitioner Brian Tanner.
Committee report, please. Councilman Tanner.
Yes, Mr. President. This issue comes before the council with no recommendation.
All right, and I will let you continue as the petitioner.
Thank you. This bill is the result of state law that was passed in past years that effectively creates an unfunded mandate for county councils to bear the burden of supporting financially the employment of attendance officers at public schools. Such a request was made earlier this year, and this bill is the result of the council navigating that process with our legal counsel, the commissioner's legal counsel, and others with some insight into what the requirements are in order to fulfill that requirement of state law as well as the request that was received. The crux of it is we have based the dollar amounts and the benchmarks from averages in pay across the state for such an attendance officer role, acknowledging the fact that it is a role that effectively operates 9 months out of the year, and that the state in Indiana Code 20-33-2-31 acknowledges that effectively a full-time position can serve up to 7,500 students before a second full-time position or a second position is established, rather. To that end, this ordinance identifies compensation back to those school districts who make such a request of $2,500 for every 500 enrolled students within the district, an expense stipend at a rate of $200 for every 500 enrolled students within the district, and establishes a process for making such requests. That the council will consider the total reimbursement to the requesting district under this code based on the average of both the fall and spring certified enrollment numbers as submitted to the Indiana Department of Education for the current school year, and that such a request must be received following that spring count in the current school year, signed by the superintendent, with supporting documentation of attendance officer or officers hired within the district to coincide with that certified enrollment. That is all, Mr. President.
Okay. Are there any questions from council for the petitioner? Mr. Rudden.
Yeah, so Brian, I think we've talked about this before, but I just think it's worth talking about this again. If this is and we want the kids in school every day, right? If this is an education issue, why is the county being tasked to look into this, to provide for this?
It doesn't seem to fall within our wheelhouse logically, but somebody in the state and ultimately the state legislature and the governor at some point in time signed over the legislation that approved this responsibility to fall upon us. I really don't have an explanation beyond that. The state legislature and governor decided that this was something that should fall upon us to do.
Okay.
Mr. Thomas.
Budget-wise, John or Steve, how is this going to affect us, say this goes through as is?
Well, I think, wasn't the cost, was it neighborhood of $25,000?
The cost, if it was truly full-time, $37,000, $37,500 a year, given that it's a 9-month working year. If every school district that qualified made a request for the full amount that they could qualify for, the rough math is that this could cost the county around $189,000.
Okay. Will it come, Mike, can I ask a question? Is that permitted?
Yes, please.
Would it come back for an additional appropriation each time, or how would that work?
That is a great question. I think because we don't have a budget set for it in 2025, we're actually, if we approve this tonight, requests that have already been made, we would have to parse out how we resolve that. But requests in the future would come in 2026 at the earliest, because it would require that establishment of both the fall and the spring enrollment counts. We can establish a line item within our budget that accounts for all of this, with only one appropriation being within our budget itself, rather than reappropriating every time.
Yeah, so put it
And then
in-
any
put it in
unspent
the
funds
budget
would fall
be
back into
probably
the
a good
general
idea.
fund.
Right.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thank you.
So the money would not be appropriated until after the spring semester? Okay.
Well, it's sometime within the spring semester following that count that is performed in February.
Okay, yeah, okay. Any other, Mr. Thomas, go ahead.
So if they continue to come to us out of budget season, we don't have to, like, if we have an avalanche come this fall or over the winter, we don't have to appropriate that, do we, for the 2026 budget? Even though, I know it's a state mandate, but
I think we'd have to appropriate.
are we gonna be
something.
legally obliged to that?
There's no time period in the statute for when the request can be made. It's just a directive that you'll pay it. I can't hear you. There's no time period in the statute for when the payment should be made. There's just a mandate that it should be made.
I think it would be a fair assumption, albeit require some legal agreement or disagreement, that the current school year, if a request was made today, would reflect the enrollment of the most recent school year enrollment. That if appropriations were requested by these school districts in what remains in 2025, and we don't have the budget line item identified in 2025, that it would be based off of their 2024, 2025 school year enrollment, since that is the measure that is established in this proposed ordinance.
Mr. Fig.
Just for clarification, I looked in this too, and this passed last year in 2024, so it was Governor Holcomb that signed this. It was a short session, just to let everybody know. Happened just a few months ago. That's it, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fig. It might also be worth noting, since he signed it, I assume that the state legislature also took a look at it in 2024?
Yes, sir.
And that
What I
is,
saw.
right,
What I
okay,
saw.
thank you. Anyone else? No.
And
Ms.
I-
Shabazz.
I guess this question and statement, we're unsure of others, counties so far that have had this brought to them, but we know it's out there and it's being talked about. Is that correct?
The legislation's been established for about a year and a half. The number of counties who've adopted a policy is unknown to me, though the number of counties who are being approached by school districts are many. I don't have an exact count. It's probably changing on a daily or weekly basis, but I know many counties are being approached for this now.
Okay, any other comments? I would like to make a comment. You know, we live in a federalist system, so the federal government obviously has authority over state governments, and state governments have authority over local governments. I have always been perturbed by unfunded mandates. The federal government is very good at making unfunded mandates of the states. Our state government has been pretty good, at least during the last 20 years that I've been cognizant of what they've been doing, of not passing unfunded mandates. This is an exception. And I don't think it's fair to the counties to demand that they pay for this without funding it. Having said that, they have done so. And so here we are, as many counties are now having to deal with this. And I think as I look at the position and someone applying for the position, they're going to expect a fair salary, and I think that's right to expect a fair salary. And I think it's right for the county because we have been put in this position by the state government, who in our federalist system has power over us, to do the right thing by funding a fair salary. Again, I don't like this. I don't think it's fair, but I also don't think it's right for us then to say, because it's not fair, we're not going to do the right thing. And I think the right thing is to provide a fair salary. Any other comments from council?
Mr. Schetzel.
Mr. Tanner?
Thank you, Mr. Schetzel. I just want to add on to that, that when this request came in several months ago, I don't think anybody was motivated to act upon it, not for a lack of caring, but for a lack of burdening the county with this expense. And then developing a structure that is both logical and functional for the county to administer after that. I can't say that I was particularly motivated to do so either, except that something had to be done, or we conceivably risk lawsuits that add on additional cost to the county. Not just for a lack of action, but we potentially risk lawsuit if we don't fund it in a sensible way that could be conceived as a fair salary for the position. So I just want to expand on your note that funding it as a fair position is probably the right thing to do, even though we think it's unfair that the state forced that responsibility upon us. But it may also be the logical thing to do to avoid the potential lawsuits that could ensue if we don't.
Any other comments? Mr. Thomas?
So we are under budget constraints, obviously, this year, and now this is being thrown at us. I don't think it's being very responsible if we're adding this in there. We don't know what's going to be thrown at us down the road. There's an unknown here, and we're under a zero budget increase here. And now this is coming at us, plus there's going to be others coming at us probably. So you're putting 20,000, I think it was, 20,000, Brian?
No.
37,500.
37,500 if it is a full-time position that serves a minimum of 7,500 students.
And that's what the county kicks in, but the school also could kick in, right?
The schools can contribute above and beyond what the council's committing to. They could also hire above and beyond what the council's required to supplement. If they have fewer than 7,500 students and they happen to hire a second attendance officer, we're under no obligation to support financially that second position. And that's where, because districts have fewer than 7,500, it could be conceived that any position for any number of students equates to full-time. And we would fund whatever this reasonable salary is at a full level for every single district, for every single position. But that was the impetus for having a formula built into this ordinance, that it is a $2,500 appropriation for every 500 students enrolled, so that we are only incrementally responsible for however many students that particular district has enrolled. And the logic behind that is if the state has acknowledged that 7,500 students could be managed by one person full-time, then a denominator of 7,500 students could be paid a denominator of a full-time salary.
So low end 37.5 and potentially 189.
If a district is, low end, if with one request, the current request before us is for far less than 7,500 students. But if every school district with the current enrollment numbers at public schools throughout the county, the anticipated cost would be $189,000.
So then that wrecks our budget.
I think we have surplus funds anticipated by the end of 2025 in the general fund. Is that correct, John?
That's correct, yes. But it does, it would have to be budgeted, yes.
I guess I have one.
Are you finished, Mr. Thomas?
I'm done, thank you.
One
Mr. Fig.
question. Will we have to vote on this every year? Or is this just one vote and done? That's my question, I was just thinking about
The
it.
ordinance identifies it for a 3-year period before it's
Okay,
terminated.
thank you. 3-year period.
Could I just comment on that real quick? I hate to step into the middle of this, but
we really can't appropriate for 3 years. That's not allowed by law. So we're only doing an additional appropriation for this first amount of money now. And then every time a school comes, you'll be voting again for another additional appropriation, or you'll be building it into an annual budget. If you find out that it's $189,000 a year, then it should probably go in the annual budget.
And to be clear, this ordinance is not an appropriation. It is the implementation of a process.
I think it says appropriation in the title.
Yeah, it does.
So
Yeah,
you're gonna have to
it
put that in
says
your line item, aren't you, John?
Thank you.
I'm
You're
sorry.
gonna probably have to put this in our line item.
We actually have done that.
It's already in there?
Right.
Then
We
which
talk about it
department?
during the budget. It has, the ordinance says general fund, so we've put some money in the general fund.
Okay, so we're voting on an ordinance right now, and then there'll be potentially a future vote on any individual appropriation based on this ordinance.
Yes, that's the process that John and Abby have described previously.
So with this specific vote tonight, are you anticipating, Brian, that you're appropriating $37,500? Because we have one request in front of us?
Not 37,500 because the request was for far fewer students than 7,500 students.
Okay.
I believe it was in the vicinity of 2,500 students, so it would be roughly a third
Okay,
of this amount.
I understood. Okay.
I do.
Ms. Shabazz?
Are we going, is this going backwards to look at the 24-25 school year, or is it starting now looking at the 25-26? And I asked that because if I was looking at 25-26 and we're waiting for spring count, we would actually not be doing these funds until April of 2026.
In theory, but it also, that begs the legal interpretation of, is there a time frame in which these requests can come in and where we must fund them? I think that's the point Clint was trying to make. The state law does not indicate that they must make that request at a specific time. We are asking to fulfill that request based on certain numbers.
So they could make the request now if they had an attendance office, a truancy officer last school year. They would have had to have that person in place last school year to make that request now. Because it'd have to be based off their
It was
spring
based on the
count.
previous year's numbers and
Spring
the
count.
previous officer who was hired for that school year.
So they may not have, we don't know if they had somebody hired in that position. Okay, thank you.
Any other comments from council? All right. Mr. Thomas, I did want to say, I probably would wholeheartedly agree with you if this were not a state mandate, and a rather odorous one, because education is the purview of the state. We do nothing with education. That makes this even worse in my mind, that they have struck us with this. However, it is a mandate. And that's why I think we have to at least try to follow the state statute. Yes.
I do believe that the prosecutor's office is charged with dealing with any truancy cases that come about. So that could be how it ended up here in the county council as a mandate. Because it's become the truancy has become under the county prosecutor now, based on the legislation that was passed on state.
So is that changed from past years?
Yes, well, there was, yes.
Okay.
Okay. Any other council comments? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on to public hearing on bill number 59-25. Is there anyone in the room who would like to speak in favor of this bill? Please sign in and state your name and address for the record. You will have 3 minutes.
It would help if you guys had a pen that actually wrote.
Can you catch?
Yeah, do we really need to have Raphael?
Let's go test his baseball skills.
We will test you on your penmanship too, Commissioner Morton.
Actually, I'll flunk. I don't necessarily want to speak in favor of this, but just a little background to add to Councilwoman Hess's comments. This whole thing started with the prosecutor's office at a conference, okay? And the conference was not about the state mandating this being funded by the county council, but that actually did come up as part of that conference. So this is how this whole thing came about. And, you know, I know you're very apprehensive about other schools coming, and I understand that, but I'm just giving you that background. When she said it came from the prosecutor's office, that's exactly what happened. And there again, this was not the reasoning for the conference, but it happened to come up as part of it. So, and I agree with everything you guys have said, but it is a mandate. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anyone else in the room wish to speak in favor of this bill? Seeing none, is there anyone online who would wish to speak in favor of this bill? Seeing none, is there anyone in the room who would like to speak in opposition to this bill? Is there anyone online who would like to speak in opposition to this bill? Seeing none, any further comment from council members? All right. Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Move for approval.
Motion to approve made by Councilwoman Hess, seconded by Councilman Catanzarite. Clerk, please take the roll.
Mr. Catanzarite,
Yes.
Mr. Tanner,
Yes.
Mr. Fig,
Yes.
Mrs. Shabazz,
Yes.
Mrs. Drake,
No.
no. Mr. Rutten,
Yes.
Ms. Hess,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
No.
President Schetzel?
Yes.
Yes. Passes 7-2.
Thank you. Let the record show that Bill number 59-25 passed by a vote of 7-2. We now move on to unfinished business. Is there any unfinished business? Seeing none, we move on to new business. Is there any new business? We then move on to old business. Is there any old business? Yes. Seeing none, we move on to privilege of the floor. Please listen carefully to the following announcement.
This was old business.
You'll have to speak during privilege of the floor, sir. That's for council members.
Didn't know. Thank you.
Okay. The public is invited to address the council on any item that was not on tonight's agenda. A time limit of 3 minutes shall be enforced for those wishing to speak during privilege of the floor. Before you speak, please sign in and then give your name and address for the record. Individuals may speak only once during this section of the agenda. Please use appropriate language and volume when addressing the council. Also, this is an opportunity for members of the public to address the council. Please refrain from directing your remarks to other members of the public who are in attendance tonight. Violations of these instructions could result in forfeiture of your remaining time. Please begin, sir.
Tom Rowe, 26160 Lake Lane, South Bend, Indiana, 46619. The business, as far as privilege of the floor I'm addressing, is the fair and equal treatment ordinance that passed, okay? 5-4 on 7/8/25. I went later on to a county commissioners meeting where they voted 2-1 in regard to the Fairness and Equal Treatment Act. However, I followed back up within the next month with the county commissioner's office requesting what had transpired since with that 2-1 vote, because they indicated at that point in time that the county commissioners were not totally satisfied with it and they'd like to refer it back to county council or themselves. When I met with them last week, they said it went back to county council for potential revisions. They specifically at that point in time said Councilman Tanner was working on that issue, okay? So my question is, I know I don't get the answers, but it'd be nice to get, what is the status of it currently as far as going through possible revisions? That's all I had. Thank you.
Mr. Rowe, I'm going to, normally we don't answer questions but there's some confusion here, so I'm going to answer for you. The bill you're referring to removed the affirmative action language from the county's abatement ordinance. Mr. Tanner and other members of the council have submitted a new ordinance to be considered, a new abatement ordinance.
Correct?
That abatement ordinance has a provision in it which will require anyone who receives an abatement simply to copy a form that they have to submit to the federal government showing that they are following specific legislation, the Equal Employment Act of 1972, for example. Just simply submit that form back to the council. It's a form they have to submit to the federal and state governments anyway, so that form simply shows how they're employing people. And that will come back to the council. We are not readdressing that particular ordinance that we passed last month, okay?
So what I'm hearing you say then is that there was some type of refinement in the language somewhere.
This is a new ordinance. It is not a refinement of anything that we passed last month.
Okay, so it's a new ordinance.
Yes, sir.
And does that new ordinance do away with the old ordinance?
It simply has language that says that any company that gets an abatement must submit a form that they already have to submit to the federal and state governments.
Okay.
They must submit that form also to the county to show that they're following Title VII and the Equal Employment Opportunity Act of 1972.
I appreciate the
Okay.
information. As you're well aware of, I like to do due diligence and follow up. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that was on first reading tonight, Mr. Rowe. It was on first reading for tonight,
Okay.
Bill number 6025.
I couldn't get here soon enough because Highway 2 was backed up from Quincy Road to the bypass, okay?
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Rowe. I will say that answering that question was not common. Normally, we don't answer questions as a council during privilege of the floor. But because I forgot to read that part of my statement, I went ahead and answered Mr. Rowe's question. Let me read that part of the statement. Finally, the council does not normally respond to questions or comments posted during privilege of the floor. So, just to clarify that. Who else would like to speak during privilege of the floor? All right, seeing none, is there anyone online who would like to speak during privilege of the floor? Seeing none. I'd like to note that our next committee meeting will be August 26th at 5:30, and our next regular meeting will be September 9th at 6 p.m. And with that, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. 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 All opposed?
Aye.
We're adjourned.